Your cursor is hovering over the send button on an email that will restructure your department. Or you're sitting in your car, staring at the office door, knowing you have to kill a project your team spent a year building. The adrenaline spikes, your stomach drops, and your professional momentum comes to a dead stop. 3,000 years ago, the warrior Arjuna stood on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, facing this exact paralysis. According to the epic, he found himself staring across the lines at an opposing army made up of his own mentors, friends, and family. He dropped his bow, physically unable to initiate the duty required of him. The response he received, the Bhagavad Gita, functions as a tactical manual for skill in action. It provides the specific mental mechanics required to execute high-pressure decisions when the emotional cost is at its peak. We are going to use this text to build a 4-step framework. This protocol will allow you to execute your hardest professional duties with absolute, unshakable inner stillness. Take a notebook and write down the precise professional task you are dreading. Next to it, write down the specific, uncomfortable reason you are hesitating to do it. The Gita identifies the source of this hesitation. It is not the difficulty of the task itself, but the ego's attachment to the outcome. You aren't struggling with the work. You are struggling with how you will be perceived after the work is done. Professional attachments often masquerade as empathy. You might call it sparing their feelings, but your notebook likely reveals a fear of reputational damage, a desire to be liked, or an aversion to personal discomfort. Draw a physical boundary on the page between the objective mechanics of the required duty and the subjective panic of your ego. The restructuring is a business requirement. The fear of being hated is a personal attachment. Once you isolate these ego-driven fears, the crisis loses its emotional weight. The task ceases to be a personal conflict and becomes a mechanical requirement of your role. Step 2 is a 60-second physical reset. This is a discipline to perform at your desk immediately before you step into the boardroom or hit send. The Gita uses the metaphor of the tortoise. Just as a tortoise draws its limbs into its shell, you must withdraw your senses from external stimuli. Sit straight, fix your vision, and use rhythmic breathing to mute the office noise, creating a deliberate sensory blackout. This exercise bypasses reactive emotions to connect you with the buddhi, the faculty of the calm, purely observing intellect. This brief withdrawal serves as the bridge. It transitions the mind from the chaos of hesitation into a state of execution-ready stillness. For step 3, you must discard your personal motivation for the task. This means ignoring potential bonuses, ignoring the promise of promotions, or fear of a superior's wrath. You instead operate from the concept of lokasangraha, executing the task solely for the welfare and holding together of the wider team or organization. This archer's bow illustrates how massive tension exists alongside total focus. In the Gita, skill in action means maintaining internal alignment when external force is at its limit. Although the bowstring is under extreme tension, the hand holding the grip must remain flawlessly steady. You apply this by delivering bad news or making hard pivots with total professionalism and precision. You act with empathy for the people involved, but your hand does not waver because you are acting for the health of the entire system. When an action is framed as a selfless necessity, or karma yoga, the burden of personal guilt is replaced by the clarity of duty. Step 4 is the final phase of the protocol, completing the action and immediately severing any mental claim to the aftermath. The framework relies on a single rule. You are entitled to do the work, but you are never entitled to the fruits, the reactions or outcomes of that work. You have zero control over whether the recipients of your decision yell, cry, or quit. Those reactions are outside your sphere of influence. You are aiming for samatva, a balanced mind that treats praise and blame, or success and failure, as exactly equal. Success in this step is marked by a state of detachment, where the action is viewed as a completed mechanical event, independent of how the room immediately responds. This radical decoupling of action from outcome provides the sustainable armor required to lead in high-stakes environments without burning out. The protocol is now complete. Isolate the ego, find your stillness, reframe for the whole, and surrender the outcome. The Gita operates on the principle that inner peace is found at the center of professional chaos, rather than in the avoidance of it. True peace is a byproduct of stepping into the conflict and doing the hardest work flawlessly and selflessly. Look back at the task written on your paper. Initiate the protocol. Walk into the room. Execute your duty with